Sorry, Oliver.
And then I also think she's like a curse kind of though, because sometimes like she'll like touch the A and like hits her with like a burning, and I feel like she's almost like the physical representation of like the Scarlet Letter, and like she brings her mother pain at the same time as like she brings her happiness.
Although Hester never complains about her, and is always very humble about her, and loves her a lot.
Sometimes, you know, she's like that kid. Like she'll like say like, oh, what is like with that like child, you know?
Yeah, it's like, oh, that's because of her behavior. It's like whenever you're a parent, you're more embarrassed of your child's behavior or even more embarrassed for yourself because you must have taught them out what that's about, so.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Another thing that is a really interesting piece of this puzzle is towards the end of the book. It's on page 229 if you want to go there. Dimmesdale is obviously suffering up on the platform, and he has just kind of openly accepted Pearl and Hester. And it says, Pearl kissed his lips. A spell was broken. The great scene of grief in which the wild infant bore a part had developed all her sympathies, and as her tears fell upon her father's cheek, they were the pledge that she would grow up amid human joy and sorrow, nor forever do battle with the world, but be a woman in it. And then it says, towards her mother too, Pearl's errand as a messenger of anguish was all fulfilled. So it kind of points out the point that maybe Pearl was meant to be a curse. I don't know, but eventually she ended up kind of fulfilling this kind of punishment that Hester was inflicted in a symbolic sense. I don't know, does anyone have any thoughts on that?
Well, I think, during that time when I was reading that, when I had the thought that, Pearl is kind of seen as a symbol throughout the book. She's just, kind of the symbol of the Scarlet Letter, and you don't, for me, I didn't really think of her as a character. I almost thought of her as just, a thing in the story, and she influenced other people, but, when she kisses Dimmesdale, it kind of shows that she is a human, and she kind of gets the human characteristics, and says that she will be a human in the world, and that she can, be her own person, because she seems almost like an elf or the devil or something throughout the book, and then when she kisses him and realizes that that's her father, she kind of becomes her own person.
I feel like there's that fear throughout the book that Pearl is just going to grow up to be another Hester, and, get the Scarlet Letter herself. So then, when she breaks that, curse of it, and everything's revealed to the community, I feel like it's, this part where everyone in the story can just, move on from what has happened.
Yeah, I think that that's definitely, at least towards the end of the story in Hester's life, I think that Pearl is definitely ends up being a blessing to her. But there are a lot of moments of curses too.
Well, I don't feel like Pearl ever really was a curse because she was just born into that situation. She was a result of some, the stupidity that they had, but so she was just kind of born into a curse. It's not her fault. And, at the end of the book, we were just talking about where she kissed, and I feel like she kind of, grows out of that, and they see her as, a normal person, not a curse anymore.
If you raise my hand. We keep talking about Pearl being a character, and I had a really hard time seeing her as that because, the way she talks and the way she acts, it's so weirdly mature and dramatic, the way the author wrote it, that I think she's obviously meant for symbolism, but the reason I think she's a curse is because she's so not childlike, so I can't have any sympathy for her, and it just freaks me out that a child like her talks the way she does and acts the way she does, and yeah.
Yeah, I kind of agree. She's more of a symbol than a character, and I kind of thought that she was almost a symbol of the adultery, because they say she's beautiful, and that's kind of like the love that Hester and Dimmesdale found, but it's also a curse at the exact same time, because she'll never let her mother take off the letter, she'll never let her forget. So
along with that, I thought that it was very interesting how Pearl would always ask her mother what the Scarlet Letter represents, but Hester wouldn't, she would hardly ever, actually tell her what it meant. And I thought that was interesting, and that just kind of shows that Pearl is a reminder of what the Scarlet Letter represents. First of all, because she is a product of that sin, and she always asks about the Scarlet Letter, and I just thought that that was interesting how she's a reminder to Hester.
I think it's ironic that Pearl was even sent to, like, Hester in the first place, because in the Puritan society, they believe that, like, I mean, they're very religious, obviously, and they believe that, like, God gives you, like, the consequences that you deserve, and in the book, they describe Pearl as something beautiful, and, like, but she was given Pearl, like, Pearl was a, like, we keep saying that Pearl is a, like, she's there because of Dimmesdale and Hester, and, like, but yet Hester is given Pearl, like, something beautiful, even though she committed adultery, so.
I think that a lot of that plays into the fourth question on the 10 tough questions. It talks about why Pearl is so smart, creepy, naughty, persistent, and all those other adjectives that are used to describe him. Like, what does she represent?
I think she represents like the Scarlet Letter, like the actual Scarlet Letter, because the one that like Hester always wears, like eventually people start to see it, as like Abel, like they can get like see it starts standing for Abel instead of like adulterer, where like Pearl like will not like forget about the A, like there it said like she always brings it up, she's always asking her mom about it, like she's like the reason, like the only thing that like you could say that proves that Hester committed adultery.
I also think that she's a symbol of confusion, because she doesn't really know the circumstances that her mom is in or where her dad is, and you can tell that through her actions and the way that she talks, and yeah, it's just seen throughout the book that she doesn't really know what to do in her behaviors and how she acts out.
When Katie read the quote from the end of the book where Pearl kisses Dimmesdale, that made me start to think that maybe Pearl isn't the representation necessarily of the Scarlet Letter, or more of the effects of sin and how it affects other people, because she spent the first 7 years of her life without a father, and that struck me, what does that do to a person? What does that, because I wouldn't know, because I've had parents, but it's this child who's already estranged from the community also doesn't have a full family to come home to, and I think that would affect her actions as the writer like wrote her part. That could be another why she's smart, why she's creepy, why she's naughty, is because she's trying to either get attention or try to kind of almost dig the answers out of the people around her to figure out why people think she's different. Like, lots of people have said that she's like a symbol, but she's also a character in the way that she has human emotions, but we've taken those away from her because we think of her, oh, she's just the product of sin.
I think one of the reasons she's so creepy and everything is because, like, in the Puritan society, along with Anne-Marie, was saying that it's kind of more strange that they're giving Hester this child, because I think they really value families and children, and I think they give it to her because they're like, oh, well, you fessed up for your sin, so here's a child, this is like your second chance. And if she were to have been a normal child or just sweet, then the story would have moved on, and then they wouldn't have had a story because they need her to be so creepy to carry on Hester's guilt, even though she's already confessed for it.
Okay, so I'm looking at number 3 of the 12 questions, and it's talking about who's suffering the most in the novel. And Pearl definitely has a strong symbolic significance. As we're talking about this, do you think that the person suffering the most could be the character, Pearl?
I think it's Dimmesdale, because although like he feels like tremendous guilt because although he committed the sin, he didn't need the repercussions of it, and it all fell on Hester. And like I think an example of this is how he always clasps his hand over his heart, and Pearl like mentions this, and like why does he do this? Like, it's like similar to you, like how like you have the red A. And then another example I think is when he goes to like the pillory where she stood, and he like sits there and he just like feels like tremendous guilt, and he I think he goes to his knees because he just like feels so terribly about it. That just like shows how he like just feels so much guilt more than anyone else.
I agree with that because all the other characters in the book, they experience like suffering, but it's on the grief scale. Like they suffer for like a short time and then it's over with and they get on with their lives. But Dimmesdale is like this 7-year period where he's just like being poisoned by his own soul, and it's just like we see the character just crumble throughout the book.
Like what you said, I don't feel like it was Pearl because she's so young and she only grew up without a father and she doesn't know what the A meant or anything, so that's just what she grew up knowing. So, and she's so innocent, I just feel like she doesn't understand her situation.
I think that, like, Hester also suffers a lot, but in a different way. Like, Dimmesdale, he, like, has to endure, like, internal, like, torture. I'm sorry. But, like, and I think that would be really hard because he's, like, a religious figure, and I think, like, repentance is really important for him, but he, like, can't do it. But Hester, is punished in a different way, and she suffers, like, publicly, and just like every day be reminded of it, but and it's probably when Dimmesdale's reminded of it every day.
Yeah, I think that Dimmesdale, another reason that he probably like, suffers so much is just because like he has the high status of being a pastor, and I think that'd be hard just because so many people in the community, like everyone really looks to him as like a beacon of light just because he's their religious leader, and like, they think that he's almost perfect and like, but yet he's like commit this huge sin, and so like I think that'd be hard for him not only just like that, but he's almost letting the whole community down just because of that.
So I agree with all of you. I'm kind of gonna go in like a different route. I feel like even though it seems weird that Chillingworth is actually suffering the most, because it's like he goes from this old scholar guy who I feel like he's a pretty good guy, maybe, and then he just like goes all like evil and like almost like the devil, but it's like what Hester did hurt him so much and he's suffering so much that like he has to make others feel his pain, so I feel like he must be hurting a lot, and I feel like he kind of recognizes that in the end, so I think he's, well, he's not that like condemns his actions or anything, but yeah.
I think Chillingworth felt a lot of shame coming back and having, because in the book, actually wrote a few notes, if I can find the page of annotations. But when he's talking about, he's talking about his former life and talking about how his world had been so cheerless without her, and the reason why he married her was because he wanted to feel that love and just simple, like have a home, have a family, just those basic things, and it comes after going through all these trials to find his wife. This is another reason for his suffering. To find his wife, and she loves someone else, which frankly I can't blame her because he's not exactly described as being the most handsome man in the book. But that could be like that could be a deep tearing turmoil, because the first time he sees his wife in the long time that they've been separated is her being punished for a sin that she had committed with another man, and all he can do is sit and watch and feel her shame.
I agree with that, and I also think Chillingworth is suffering because